This week is, I believe, School Avoidance or School Refusal Awareness Week. And it's something I thought was really important to mark in some way. A lot of you who have children with additional needs will have really struggled to help them get to school. Um, Many of you, more than most people realise, will have children who can't get into school, or you get through the morning, you get them dressed. You might have problems with uniform because uniform is painful. Um, you might have a child screaming at you, trying to open the car door while you're driving. Um, they might get to school and they are crying and screaming. And then most of them, when you speak to school will say, well, they're fine in school. And there begins a spiral. And for some people, that ends up with a child in their bedroom for weeks, months, years. It ends up with really difficult conversations between you and school because you, as a parent, in the UK at least, have a legal responsibility to get your child to school. You also have a legal responsibility not to physically manhandle them. How do you get a child to a place that doesn't feel safe? Because that's the bottom line, actually. If they're not wanting to go to school or not able to go to school, it's usually, very, very usually, a question of very severe anxiety. And we hold children to a different standard, don't we, than we do adults. If you have work-related stress and really severe anxiety, you go to your GP and the GP will sign you off work for a while. You may have to consider working in a different area. You may have to consider leaving work. You may have to consider working part-time. For children, it doesn't work like that. Children are expected to be in school because the baseline that we have as adults is that school is the safest place for children. We know that statistically for children as a whole, sorry, there's glare in my glasses. I hope it's not too much of a problem. Statistically, school is a protective factor, they call it, which is fine if you're talking about a whole population. But if you have a child at home who is suffering from terrible tummy aches or really bad headaches, they might have diarrhea, they might be vomiting, they will be sobbing in the morning. School doesn't feel safe. And if school isn't safe, then there is no way that child has the capacity to learn. I talked in my last blog about the lizard brain, the dog brain, and the owl brain. When we're talking about school, we're talking about the need for that owl brain to be working. That's what learning is, isn't it? That's where we learn how to do maths, how to do English, how to do social skills. If this is not functioning, then we can't learn. But we've set up a system that means these children have to be there. I think what I wanted to talk about just briefly is that a lot of children who have these difficulties want to go to school. And that's something that the system doesn't often realise or acknowledge or accept. The fact that they can live, and many of them do absolutely live in a space where they desperately want to be in school, they want to be with their friends, they want to be learning. Many of these children are academically very able, and they understand that to get to a successful place in life, they need qualifications, they want to do this. Many of them will start talking very young about the fact that they want to go to university because they might want to become a geologist. Rocks are really fascinating. Well, you need to go to university to learn what you want to about rocks. And so every day that they miss adds to the anxiety because in their heads they're falling behind. They feel isolated. They don't want to be stuck in their bedrooms. They want to be at school. But they can't. They can't because maybe the environment is painful. Maybe the lights flicker. For a lot of children on the autistic spectrum, for example, or who have sensory processing difficulty, those fluorescent lights that we just see as one full light, they see as flickers. Can you imagine if you had, we've all experienced, haven't we, a fluorescent light bulb that flickers. Can you imagine being in an environment where all of the lights around you are flickering constantly? It's unbearable to think about, isn't it? Or the noises are incredibly loud and you can't differentiate what the teacher is saying from the background noise of the lawnmower in the garden, in the field. Or you have a uniform that feels scratchy against your skin the whole time. This is the kind of thing that our children are dealing with every single day. Not to mention the anxiety that comes with not really feeling that you fit in, being very obviously different, but mostly with people telling you that you're normal because everybody's a little bit different. There are so many contradictory messages that we give our children, all children. And most kids kind of get on with it. They let it wash over them and it's fine. Children with additional needs become very, very aware of those contradictions. And it doesn't make sense. So I think the message that I wanted to get for anybody who's working with children, particularly in a school setting, but maybe you're working in a bureaucratic setting and you're trying to match this, child that has needs, that needs to be in school, that can't be in school or won't be in school. The one message that I think I want to give you today on this week where we're marking the importance of realizing these are real children and there are more of them than we think, is that a great number of them want to be in school and they want to learn. And they will do everything they can to work with you if you also work with them. And if you acknowledge the fact that the reason they're not in school is not because they don't want to be. So what can you do to help facilitate that? And that may well be providing some learning opportunities outside of school. You might get them to a stage where school feels safe again. You may not. You may need to be looking for a way of helping them access education that doesn't happen in a school. That's okay, isn't it? So long as they're learning, so long as they're growing, so long as they're thriving, so long as at the end of it, you have a full human being who is ready, happy to take part in society and not a shell of a human being quivering under a cover somewhere. I know it's difficult. We don't have the system set up. How do you fund all of that? But let's deal with that later. First of all, philosophically, is school the right place for every single child? I argue not. But I don't think that's a bad thing. We're different. We are different, aren't we? What may work for the majority of children won't work for a small minority. And that's all right. But we then need to talk about what we do to meet those children's needs. The other thing that I'd say as I finish is that a lot of these kids are the ones who are going to change the world. They're the ones who are going to come up with the innovative solutions to the problems that we face. And it's very hard to come up with innovative solutions when you have been put into a system that teaches you how to think one way, in a very rigid way. We all benefit if we support these kids to learn in the way that they can, rather than trying to chop away at them and mold them into the box that we think is the right one. Have a think about it. I would be really interested to know what you think. And if you agree with me, how might we be able to change the system in small, manageable ways at a time to accommodate those really amazing and interesting kids? Bye.